Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating idea. How to genuinely get your creative work, whatever form it takes, out into the world.
Mm,
It's less about being some like preordained genius
right.
and much more about simply being findable. We're pulling insights from Austin Kleon's incredibly practical book, Show Your Work.
Yeah, and what's so compelling about this, I think, is how it really flips the script on the old ways of thinking about self-promotion.
Mm, how so?
Well, instead of, hiding away, perfecting your craft in secret, and then this big reveal.
The grand unveiling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It argues the real power comes from sharing your process openly. That
Yes.
transparency, that's what lets an audience find you almost organically.
Okay. So our mission for you, the listener, is to try and distill the most impactful nuggets from this whole approach. Give you a fresh, maybe actionable perspective on making your passion, whatever it is, discoverable.
Yeah, make it less daunting.
Right. Because for far too long, creativity has been framed as this, I don't know, isolated act, almost antisocial sometimes.
It's definitely reserved for the quote-unquote lone geniuses, right?
Mm.
Mozart, Einstein.
Yeah, the myth is they appear out of nowhere, divinely inspired, toil away in secret, and then poof, a masterpiece.
Right. But this material, it offers a very different vision, and frankly, a much more inclusive one.
How does it counter that?
Well, if you look closer, Brian Eno's concept of genius is a really powerful counterpoint.
Genius. Like scene genius.
Exactly. He describes creativity not as an individual flash, but as something birthed within a whole scene of people. People supporting each other, looking at each other's work,
Uh-huh.
copying, stealing ideas, contributing ideas.
Yeah.
It's not about diminishing individual talent, but just acknowledging that great work, it rarely happens in a total vacuum.
Hmm.
It really makes room for all of us, to contribute and grow together.
That collaborative vision, it really opens the door, doesn't it? It suggests maybe the pressure to be a genius is kind of misplaced. And instead, maybe we should embrace our inner amateur. Charlie Chaplin famously said, "We don't live long enough to be anything else." So what's the real advantage there, being an amateur?
Well, amateurs, the word literally means lovers of their work.
Yeah.
They have this incredible freedom.
Freedom
They're
have.
willing to try anything, share results, precisely because they have, well, relatively little to lose compared to an established pro, maybe.
Right, less reputation on the line.
Exactly. They're lifelong learners, learning in the open. Their failures, their successes, they become lessons for everyone watching.
Like that Zen idea.
Yeah, Shunryu Suzuki's insight, in the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. He captures that spirit perfectly, and Clay Shirky adds a crucial point. The real gap is between doing nothing and doing something.
The starting.
Just starting, and the raw enthusiasm of amateurs can be incredibly contagious. Think about, like, the early Sex Pistols. Raw, maybe not technically brilliant at first, but that energy.
Yeah, infectious.
Totally.
Yeah.
And even seasoned pros like Tom York from Radiohead, they benefit from adopting that spirit sometimes, picking up an instrument they don't really know how to play, forcing themselves into that fertile ground of uncertainty.
So what does this ultimately mean for you, the listener? How do you apply it?
Well, it suggests the best way to start is maybe just identify something you want to learn
Okay.
and then commit to learning it in front of others. Share what you love, and the people who love the same things, they'll naturally gravitate towards you.
It's a different mindset, not hiding the learning process.
Exactly.
So traditionally, creatives often toil in secrecy, right? Only unveiling the pristine, finished masterpiece.
The big reveal.
But these sources, they suggest a much more open approach. It reminds me of that Michael Jackson quote.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people are so used to just seeing the outcome of work, they never see the side of the work you go through to produce the outcome.
That nails it. It highlights this crucial distinction. The artwork, the polished thing, versus the artwork, the messy day-to-day process behind it all.
Right, the journey, not just the destination.
Exactly. David Bales and Ted Orland observed that historically this process, it was seen as, like, utterly uninteresting to audiences. Nobody cared how the sausage was made.
But the internet changed that.
Completely. It
Yeah.
creates this space where creators can share sketches, works in progress, their inspirations, and that builds a much deeper bond with their audience. Like designers Dan Provost and Tom Gerhardt said, people really do want to see how the sausage gets made.
Okay, that idea of sharing the artwork, not just the artwork, is really compelling. But what about someone whose work feels, well, super remote and high stakes? like an astronaut.
Right.
How did Chris Hadfield manage that? He was literally in space doing incredibly complex things, yet millions were captivated. What was it about his approach? What can we learn?
Oh, it's a fantastic example. Apparently, his sons helped him get set up with social media.
Ah,
And during his 5 months on the International Space Station, he just shared everything.
everything. Like what?
From the, breathtaking photos of Earth, obviously,
Sure.
to the really mundane stuff, clipping his nails in zero gravity, performing daily maintenance tasks. He filmed YouTube videos, tweeted constantly,
Ugh.
and millions found it captivating, not just the novelty, but because he showed the authentic, real side of an astronaut's life. He turned that invisible day-to-day process into something verbal, relatable, incredibly human.
Hmm.
Even like fixing the plumbing was exciting.
Because it was in space.
Exactly. Hundreds of miles above Earth.
So for listeners then, maybe your work isn't shooting photos from orbit, or maybe you're still learning, an apprentice without big finished products yet. How can you apply that Hadfield philosophy? What's the practical takeaway?
I think the profound shift here is to become a kind of documentarian of what you do.
A documentarian.
Okay. Start a work journal, jot down thoughts, maybe speak them into your phone's recorder, take photos at different stages, shoot little videos of yourself working.
It's not about making art from the documentation itself.
Not necessarily, no. It's simply about capturing your journey. Your smartphone is basically a fully functional multimedia studio right there in your pocket. It makes it so easy.
Right.
And whether you share it immediately or not, just documenting your process helps you see your own work more clearly, feel like you're making progress, it accelerates your learning, and, crucially, it inherently generates that surplus of material, the stories, the details, that will eventually captivate an audience.
That makes sense. You're building the archive as you go.
Precisely.
Okay, so this idea of overnight success, we know it's mostly a myth, right? Hiding years of unseen work.
Almost always, yeah.
So this material suggests a much more, I guess, manageable approach. Sustainable, maybe?
Yeah.
Focusing on sharing something small, but daily.
Exactly. The day is the only unit of time that really makes sense for consistent sharing. It's about rhythm.
So like once a day.
Yeah, once a day, maybe after your main creative work is done, find one small piece of your process to put out there.
What kind of piece?
Oh, anything. Influences, methods you're trying, works in progress, lessons learned, even just like scraps from the cutting room floor. Artist Frank called it his daily dispatch.
A daily dispatch. I like that.
Yeah, it's like getting all the DVD extras before a movie comes out.
Mhm.
Little behind-the-scenes glimpses.
And crucially, don't get caught up in making every single post perfect.
Oh, definitely not.
I remember that Theodore Sturgeon quote, the sci-fi writer, 90% of everything is crap.
Huh. Yeah, that applies to our own work too, doesn't it?
It's kind of freeing, actually, permission to just put stuff out there.
It really is.
But what about the classic excuse? I just don't have time for this.
The time excuse.
Hmm.
Well, the book argues time is almost always found in the nooks and crannies.
Nooks and crannies.
Your commute, lunch breaks, maybe that quiet hour after the kids are in bed, late evenings. It might mean sacrificing, I don't know, an episode of your favorite show sometimes.
Trade-offs.
Trade-offs. But the time is usually there if you actively look for it. The key is balancing the sharing with actually doing the work. That's critical.
So how do you balance that?
If you're struggling, maybe just set a timer. Give yourself 30 minutes for sharing, tops, then commit to getting back to the actual creating.
Yeah.
The goal isn't constant online engagement. It's consistent, small acts of sharing.
Okay, that makes sense. Small and consistent.
Ugh.
But that
Huh.
brings up a really critical question. What not to share? There's a big difference between sharing and, well, oversharing.
Huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crucial to remember, anything you post online is potentially public forever. It's like a copy machine, Kleon says. Once it's out, it gets copied. And those copies, they don't really go away.
Scary thought.
It is. Publicist Lauren Saran gives some stark advice. Post as though everyone who can read it has the power to fire you.
Oof. Okay. So how do you filter?
A good filter is the so what test. Ask yourself, is this helpful? Is it entertaining? Would I be comfortable with my boss seeing this? My mother, the mom test. Always a good one. And if you're genuinely unsure, let it sit for 24 hours. Just sleep on it. Yeah. There's absolutely nothing wrong with saving things for later or deciding, you know what? This one's just for me.
Right. Not everything needs to be broadcast.
Not at all.
Okay, let's talk about influences. We all have our cabinets of curiosities, the books we read, the music, the art, the random stuff we collect. These things shape us. How does sharing them benefit you as a creator?
It's interesting. Your influences actually clue people in to who you are and what you do.
Yeah.
Sometimes even more than your own work itself, especially early on.
Really? More than your own work?
Yeah, think about it. Jonathan Lethem, the writer, he sees reading and writing as basically opposite ends of the same spectrum.
Yeah.
Reading directly feeds the writing. Sharing what you're reading shows people where your head is at.
And Ira Glass talks about the gap, right?
Exactly. The gap between a creator's good taste, what they admire, and their initial skill level. Sharing your tastes helps bridge that gap. It shows people the kind of quality you're striving for, even if your own output isn't quite there yet.
And this can extend to things others might even consider. Well, garbage, right? I'm thinking of that guy, Nelson Molina, and his trash museum.
Oh, amazing example.
Yeah.
Collecting discarded items along a sanitation route in New York City. Finding treasure in other people's trash.
Yeah.
It speaks to having the courage to keep loving your garbage, as the book puts it. Because the diversity, the breadth of your influences, how you mix maybe high and low culture, that unique blend is precisely what makes you you.
So don't be embarrassed by your guilty pleasures.
Absolutely not. Celebrate them. Be open. Be honest about your tastes. It's a really powerful way to connect with people who share those same, maybe slightly quirky interests.
Okay, so if you're sharing the work of others, attribution becomes critical.
Crucial. Non-negotiable, really.
Jeff Jarvis's advice. Do what you do best and link to the rest. Simple.
Simple and profound.
Why is it so important, though? Beyond just, giving credit where it's due.
Well, if you don't attribute properly, Kleon argues you actually rob all the people you've shared it with.
Rob them.
Because they have no way to dig deeper. They can't find more of that artist's work. They can't explore the context. Good attribution provides that context.
Yeah.
What it is, who made it, how, when, where, and importantly, why you're sharing it and where they can find more.
And online, that means?
It means a hyperlink, period. Our sources emphasize this strongly. The single most important form of attribution online is a link.
Because,
as they put it bluntly, people are lazy. And attribution without a link online borders on useless. Most people just won't bother Googling a name you mention.
Yeah.
You have to make it easy.
So bottom line, if you can't properly credit something with a link.
Don't share it. Find something else you can credit properly.
Got it. Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Many creators, maybe subconsciously, cling to the idea that their work speaks for itself.
Ah, yes. The silent masterpiece myth.
Right. But this material challenges that. It points out that humans, we inherently want to know where things came from, how they were made, and who made them.
Exactly. Your work doesn't exist in some kind of vacuum. Whether you realize it or not, every little interaction, every email, text, blog comment, tweet, it's all part of this larger multimedia narrative you're constantly building about yourself and your work.
So the story matters.
The story really matters.
Yeah.
Personal stories make complex ideas tangible. They help people connect on a human level. It's how people relate to the creator, not just the creation.
That insight actually helps simplify story structure, doesn't it? I love that John le Carre quote.
Which one?
The cat sat on a mat is not a story. The cat sat on the dog's mat is a story.
Yes. Conflict, tension, something happening. Perfect.
So how can you, the listener, use this simple idea to tell more compelling stories about your own work?
Well, most story structures, even the famous Pixar one, they boil down to a beginning, a middle, and an end. Simple as that. And when you're pitching something, whether it's to a client, for a job, asking for funding, using a basic 3-act structure, past, present, future, can be really powerful. It can turn the listener into the potential hero of your story, giving them a role in how it concludes.
And some basic tips for telling that story.
Always speak plainly, value their time, be brief, and please, please proofread everything. A lack of proofreading doesn't make you look authentic, it just makes you look careless and hard to understand.
Okay, this leads naturally to that classic, sometimes awkward question. So what do you do?
Ah, the dreaded question at parties.
Exactly. How do you answer that honestly and effectively without falling into jargon or sounding like you're, bragging or trying too hard?
The key, according to the book, is to explain your work honestly and humbly. Practice explaining it to different audiences. Imagine explaining it to a kindergartner than to a senior citizen. That helps you find the core.
Stick to the facts.
Stick to nonfiction. State the facts in your bio. And crucially, strike all the adjectives. Don't get cute, don't brag.
And avoid those buzzwords.
Oh, definitely. Unless you are literally a ninja or a guru or a rock star.
Yeah.
Don't use those words in your professional description.
Yeah.
They're usually meaningless and just sound silly.
Good advice. Okay, let's talk about teaching. You might instinctively think sharing your secrets just creates competition.
Right, why give away the magic formula?
But this material uses the example of Aaron Franklin, the legendary pitmaster at Franklin Barbecue in Austin.
Franklin Barbecue.
He shares his techniques for smoking ribs and brisket and videos, online classes, yet people still line up for hours every single day to buy his food.
It's a fantastic paradox, isn't it? It shows that teaching doesn't mean instant competition.
Why not?
Because Aaron Franklin's intuition, his feel, honed over years and years of practice. You just can't replicate that easily by watching a video. The nuances matter.
So teaching doesn't hurt him.
Quite the opposite. When you teach, you actually generate more interest in your own work. You build closer connections with your audience because you're letting them in, you're being generous.
And there's a benefit for the teacher, too.
Absolutely. As Christopher Hitchens noted, sharing your knowledge gives you a free education that goes on for a lifetime. People respond, they ask questions, they challenge you. It forces you to learn even more.
So from teaching, we naturally move to listening. The book warns strongly against becoming human spam.
Ugh. Human spam, we all know them.
Those people who only talk about themselves and their own work, constantly promoting.
Yeah. The advice here is simple. If you want fans, you have to be a fan first.
Be a fan first, okay?
You need to be what writer Blake Butler calls an open node, meaning you give, you listen, you genuinely notice other people and their work.
Is there an example of this?
There's a great story about the musician Adrian Young. He got into a Twitter debate about classic soul groups and ended up connecting with William Hart from the Delphonics. Because Young was interacting on the level of a fan himself, genuinely passionate, it led to them actually collaborating on a whole new album together.
Wow. That's amazing. From a Twitter debate.
Right. It shows what can happen when you engage authentically.
So ultimately, it's about cultivating quality connections, not just racking up follower numbers.
Exactly. Lawrence Weschler put it beautifully.
Yeah.
To be interesting, you need to be interested. Practice the continual projection of interest in others.
Be curious.
Be curious, be attentive, and trust that true connections, as record producer Steve Albini says, are a natural outgrowth of doing things you were doing anyway, not forced networking.
So just make stuff you love, talk about stuff you love.
And you'll naturally attract people who love those same things. Just don't be creepy about it. Don't waste people's time asking for too much. And please, please don't ever, ever ask people to follow you. Let it happen naturally.
Right, okay. Now the tough part. Once you do put your work out there, criticism is pretty much inevitable.
Oh yeah, comes with the territory.
Designer Mike Montero talks about learning in art school how to take a punch during critiques.
Yeah.
How can you, the listener, develop that kind of resilience?
Well, the first piece of advice is maybe counterintuitive. Just relax and breathe. Seriously. No one has ever died from a bad review. It might feel like it, but they haven't.
Okay, perspective.
Perspective. Strengthen your neck, metaphorically speaking, by putting out more work. The more criticism you absorb, the more you realize it can't actually hurt you in a fundamental way.
Roll with the punches.
Roll with the punches. Sometimes leaning into the thing people hate can even be fun, creatively. Protect your truly vulnerable early-stage work, sure. But remember Colin Marshall's point. Compulsive avoidance of embarrassment is a form of suicide for creative work.
Wow. Strong words.
And crucially, always, always remember, your work is something you do, not who you are. Don't let criticism become an attack on your identity.
That's key. But it brings us to filtering feedback, especially online with trolls. How do you tell the difference between useful critique and just noise?
Malice. You really want feedback from people who genuinely care about you and care about your work getting better. Trolls, they are not interested in improving your work. They just want to provoke a reaction.
So don't engage.
Absolutely. Do not engage. You gain nothing.
Yeah.
Don't feed them. And they'll usually get bored and move on. And remember, the book points out that often the worst troll is the one that lives in your head.
Ah, the inner critic.
That insidious voice telling you you're not good enough. Deal with that one first. Use block buttons liberally online. Delete nasty comments. Or even consider turning off comments entirely if you need to protect your creative space and your sanity.
It's okay to curate your environment.
Absolutely essential sometimes.
Okay, then there's that really loaded word, sellout. Is it really so bad to make money from your passion? There is this pervasive romanticized idea of the starving artist.
Yeah, and the book is incredibly clear on this. We all have to get over our starving artist romanticism. We just have to.
Why?
Think about history. Many of the most cherished cultural artifacts we have, Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel, for example, were commissioned works. They were jobs, paid for,
Right.
patrons. Mario Puzo wrote The Godfather, literally, to pay off gambling debts. Paul McCartney openly said he and John Lennon used to sit down aiming to write a swimming pool. It's okay to want to make a living.
But people sometimes react negatively when artists do make money.
It's true, there's often this backlash. The advice is, don't be jealous when people you admire succeed financially. Celebrate their victory. See it as proof that it is possible.
And what's fascinating now is the sheer variety of ways you can actually turn your audience into patrons. It's not just about selling paintings or books anymore.
Not at all. The landscape has totally changed. You can simply ask for donations. A virtual tip jar on your site.
Like public radio.
Exactly. Crowdfunding platforms like Kickstarter have revolutionized things. Look at Amanda Palmer. She raised over $1 million for an album, largely because she spent years cultivating genuine relationships with her fans before she asked for anything.
So the relationship comes first.
Relationship first. Or you could stick to a traditional model. Make great stuff and sell your products or services directly. But regardless of the approach. Yeah.
Always build and respect an email list. Seriously, it is nowhere close to being dead. It's still the most powerful direct connection you can have with your most dedicated supporters. Don't rely solely on social media platforms you don't control.
Build the list. Got it. Okay, finally, it really comes down to sticking around.
Endurance. The long game.
Creative careers, any career really, they're full of ups and downs, plateaus, surges. How do you sustain the journey over the long haul, especially when things get tough or progress feels slow?
Well, the book quotes someone saying, the people who get what they're after are very often the ones who just stick around long enough. Persistence pays off.
So don't quit too early.
Don't quit prematurely. Remember Joan Rivers' grim but kind of motivating advice to hold on with your teeth even when things seem impossible? One strategy the book suggests is chain-smoking projects.
Chain-smoking projects. Yeah, finishing one project and immediately, like the next day, starting the next one. It maintains momentum. Think of Woody Allen's consistent film output year after year, or Hemingway stopping mid-sentence so he knew exactly where to start the next morning. Keep the engine running.
Keep the engine running. I like that. And maybe the most crucial long-term strategy for creative sustainability, something a lot of successful people use, the sabbatical.
Ah, yes, the planned break. Designer Stefan Sagmeister is famous for taking a full year off every 7 years.
A whole year.
A whole year. He swears by it, says everything he designs in the following 7 years has its roots in that sabbatical thinking. It refreshes everything.
But most people can't take a year off.
Right, but the principle applies. Practical sabbaticals can exist daily, weekly, or monthly. Your commute without your phone, dedicated exercise time, time in nature. It's vital to consciously separate your work from the rest of your life.
Create boundaries.
Create boundaries. And as the book reminds us, if you never go to work, you never get to leave work. You need that downtime to recharge.
So bringing this all back to your ongoing creative journey as a listener, what does this ultimately mean day to day? It seems it also speaks to having the courage to abandon mastery, or at least perceived mastery, and become a student again.
That's a huge part of it. Comedian Louis C.K. used to throw out his entire hour of material every year to force himself to dig deeper, to find new things.
Wow. That takes guts.
It does. Steven Soderbergh, the filmmaker, talks about planning retirement just so he can tear down everything I've done and rebuild from scratch. Starting fresh.
But you never really start over, do you?
Exactly. You begin again. That's the phrasing. The lessons learned, the skills developed, they always carry forward into the next thing, enriching it. The ultimate goal, and really the recurring theme here, is just to commit to continuously learning in the open and paying attention to the people who show up to learn with you along the way.
So there you have it, our deep dive into Austin Kleon's Show Your Work. The essence, really, for you is about that consistent, open sharing of your creative process, cultivating genuine connections with your audience, owning and sharing your story, and just never stopping that cycle of learning and creating.
Yeah, and it's important to remember, as the book itself reminds us, your mileage may vary.
Right.
Take what resonates with you, leave the rest. These aren't rigid rules, they're principles, ideas to explore and adapt to your own unique situation, your own creative path.
Absolutely. So our final provocative thought for you to carry forward today is this. How can you start sharing just one piece of your work or your process, no matter how small it feels, today?
Just one small thing.
Maybe even use the tag, #ShowYourWork online. Or perhaps plan a little Show Your Work night with some colleagues or friends. The act of sharing itself, even if it feels imperfect, that's always the first step towards being found.